It has been found in modern manufacturing practices or in modern supply chain systems that delivery is a very, very important factor. On time in full is a measure which can very easily tell a company about its relationship or its performance in the eyes of its customer. Whatever you deliver, the company will pay you for that. But if you don't deliver on time, it is troubling your customer. On time in full measure, if used correct, is an excellent indicator of what the future holds for you. This unique measurement is usually not seen anywhere, except in companies which are actually practicing the throughput approach. On time in full, that means if a customer requires you to deliver a set of 4 components, you have to deliver all of them in the quantity required at the time required. It cannot happen that you have given 100 of one, 200 of the second, 75 of the third, and 200 of the fourth. This measure somehow is forcing most of the manufacturers to see it from the customer's perspective. If these 4 components go into making an equipment, what use is supplying 150 of a component when only he can make 50 because of the constraint put into his manufacturing by you supplying just 50 of component 1? And if he doesn't produce, how does he sell? And if he doesn't sell, what does he do with your money payment? He doesn't pay you on time. If many customers do not impose on you a delivery condition, still it is in your own good that you make sure that you remain firm on the delivery dates promised. This is nothing but a march towards being a reliable supplier. On time in full has got many cascading effects. But how do we measure it? Let us say I'm a manufacturer and I get 100 orders. These orders total up to 1 crore. Not all of them are equal, so some will be high, some will be low. Now, I decide to go ahead and put a measurement on it. I want to see how many times do I deliver on time and in full. This becomes a measurement of my company performance. One of the people solely responsible for this would be the production fellow. The marketing is also responsible, but let's assume that the main one is the production person. He is going to be measured with this criteria that how many orders were manufactured by him and sent out on time. The month-end report comes and we see a figure of 99%. It's a very good figure, in fact excellent. Anything above 95% on time is a good figure. So you call for a review and you say, I think you've done a good job because the figure shows 99% on time. We had 100 orders, out of which 99 went out of the door on time and in full. Very nice. Then you call the throughput fellow. So how much of throughput did we make? So sir, we made a throughput of 50 lakhs. Only? But my expenses are 55 lakhs. I'm making a loss. What accounts for this contradiction? You call the production guy again. He says, sir, what did you do with the orders? Sir, 99% on time. Okay. which is the one order you didn't send out. So just one, it was for customer XYZ. Oh my God. That was the order worth 25 lakhs, the biggest order in the pipeline. By him not sending that order, he achieved his 99% on time figure. But what happened to the company? It lost huge amount of throughput. Not only that, by that time, it had already spent the operating expense. Did the operating expense go down for the month? No. A late delivery of order not only impacts your customer, but also impacts your performance. So, all the orders booked for the period based on your capacity calculations have to be dispatched on time. It is your policies in the companies which cause a conflict and do not allow you to dispatch on time. In Throughput world, our job is to make sure that all these quantities are okay, the orders are on time, and in case a customer has asked for a set, the whole set has to be on time. If you do not send on time, it is quite likely that your money will not come on time. If the customer cannot make a whole set and manufacture a component or a product that he is selling, he will only get the money for the components that he uses, but you have supplied him more. This will translate in you not getting your payment on time. Let's look at it another way. Now, counting just the number of orders on time has got its loopholes. Another way of looking at it is, you had an order for an X amount of throughput, for which you are going to spend some operating expense. How much of my throughput went on time? After having booked your order, you know by a particular date a certain amount of throughput should have been booked as per the date of dispatch of the work order. So now let's come to a situation where the fellow comes and says, sir, I have only booked, or he comes and tells you that only 95% of the throughput is on time, 5% isn't. But this amounts to 65 lakhs of throughput. You are incurring expense of 50 lakhs. First of all, you are safe that you are not going to make a loss. Second of all, you also know now that your most important customers, naturally are the customers who give you more orders, they have been satisfied. Because the majority of your throughput has already been booked. In the 5% which is not gone out, it could be many small orders also. But in the old time, with a 99% performance of due date, we had the most important client of ours not being satisfied. So, on time in full is a measure which not only tells you how the customer is looking at you, but it also tells you how your decision making is impacting your performance. On time in full is also a reflection whether what you had planned, are you meeting or not. At what level of on time in full is my company doing its best? This begs the decision that is it right to be 100% on time, or even 80% is good enough? Let's spend some time on it. Suppose consistently, month after month, you are achieving 100% on time. This may sound good, but if you think harder, it could be that you don't have enough orders. If your capacity utilization is low, you can make 110 wrong decisions, but the cushion in excess capacity will absorb all these wrong decisions. And you'll land up delivering every order on time. If you do that, you will not be able to control your operating expense. But then we have another measurement of productivity that we have put in place. That will show a negative performance. On time in full, 100%, but not enough throughput to look after my operating expenses. Suddenly, on time in full, 100% is not a good result because we are not able to meet our financial commitments. We are not able to meet our financial commitments because we are not making enough money. Let us look at the other end, 80% on time in full, but you are getting enough throughput inside, so you are making money. From the point of view of making money, you are okay. But you are not a good customer or a good supplier in the eyes of a customer. Less than 80%, unacceptable. Above 95%, a bit of worry. So good performance would be around 95%. If consistently you meet your productivity targets and you keep 95% your performance levels, at this level your decisions are okay and your company is doing its best. Too low utilization of resources is also wrong. Now, if you tend to be constantly shuffling your production system to achieve 95%, again, it is wrong. So there has to be a method which allows a smooth operation, you achieving 90 to 95% of your on-time performance and making sure that you're making enough money. This is how a company should be run. Along with the 3 financial measurements that we suggested, on time in full is a very, very significant and important measurement to be put into place. For day-to-day activity, this is where we begin from. How do we know my plan is perfect? How do you know that the planning department is doing a good job of planning? If the on time in full improves, they are doing a good job of planning. They could have planned with the most feasible way, with the availability of raw material and everything, but if on time performance is low, what is the use of that plan? So the job of the planning department is to make sure that they increase on time performance of delivery. Now, while increasing the on time performance, they cannot jeopardize anything else. We know that a company is working in an environment where it produces something and sells in a market. For producing items, it needs to purchase raw materials. So this is the interplay of the environment. There is a market, there is production facility and raw material supply. There could be other things also which limit this particular organization to make money. Let's put it simply. If the purpose of a company is to make money today as well as tomorrow, and then it has to constantly keep making more and more money, what is it that is limiting you from making more money? It is this identification of the constraint which is going to give us an ability to manage our organization effectively. Many a times we see a company having a very robust demand for its product. Its marketing people have enough capability to go out and book orders, and the order flow is maintained. But the money doesn't come in because they're not able to deliver on time. What this means is they have booked orders which actually cannot be delivered in the time in which they are promised to be delivered. Now in this case, the company has been limited from making money not by its demand, by its production. Now, if you don't deliver it on time, it's quite likely that this will have an impact on the market. So now, after some time, when you have actually increased your capacity, the demand has gone out. Because by that time, the customers are frustrated with your delivery adherence. How this constraint or limiting factor impacted the performance of the company? Because if you do not know what your constraint is, you will not know how to manage it. And the fact about constraint is, if you do not manage the constraint will manage you. And this is what happened in the example I just quoted. The company did not realize what was the constraint, but thought getting more orders would mean that they can make more money. The production constraint finally played out. The orders were not delivered on time. And by the time you were able to clear the backlog of orders, the customers did not want your product. So suddenly the demand dropped. Now, this is what I mean, the constraint is now managing you. When the demand dropped, your capacity and your demand matched. Customers became happy again. But you lost your ability to make more money. Because if you knew this was a production constraint and focused on increasing the capacity of a production, you would have constantly had an upward trend in your demand. But what did you face? You faced a fluctuating situation and you said, okay, I think I have overcome my difficulties. But actually, you have lost your ability to make more money because the demand just did not come to you anymore. The production can blame. We didn't produce on time because the material didn't come on time. The material person can say out of the 25 deliveries, only 2 were not on time. There can be a play of so many factors in between to increase the variability in your operations and hence put a stress on management.